You know the scene, right? Shadowy figures on cobblestone streets, secret documents being passed in some dimly lit bar, and of course, these glamorous super spies on missions where seduction is their #1 weapon. It's a world we feel like we know from the movies. But let me tell you, behind that silver screen fantasy, there's a much, much darker story.
Yeah, the Hollywood version of the honey trap is all about passion and intrigue and these impossibly good-looking people saving the world. It's a great story, but that's all it is, a story. The reality? Well, it was way less about romance and a whole lot more about cold, hard psychological warfare.
So what happens when you strip all that fiction away? What are you left with? What was the actual brutal reality for the people caught in the web of a real-life honey trap during the Cold War? Well, let's get into it.
To really get what the honey trap was all about, you gotta forget the whole whirlwind romance idea. For intelligence agencies, this was a cold, calculated playbook. It was built on psychological manipulation, not some kind of genuine connection.
The KGB were absolute legends at this. They even had a special school for it, State School 4, where agents learned the art of seduction. The female agents were called swallows, and they were trained to trap high-ranking foreign officials. And their male counterparts? They were called ravens or Romeos, and their job was to target lonely women in important government or military jobs.
And the goal was never, ever love. It was exploitation, plain and simple. These agents were trained to find your vulnerabilities, loneliness, ego, a desperate need for someone to notice you, and then just systematically use those weaknesses to get leverage over you.
And the whole operation followed this four-step plan. First, you had target identification, where they'd find someone who was emotionally vulnerable. Then came the seduction and bonding phase, where the agent basically makes the target psychologically dependent on them. The third phase, compromise and exploitation. That starts with small requests. Hey, can you get me this little piece of information? That get bigger and bigger. And finally, you get to the end game, control and blackmail, using everything they've gathered to keep you under their thumb for the long haul.
Okay, so how did this playbook actually work in the real world? Well, these next two stories show just how effective and, frankly, how devastating these operations could be.
During the Cold War, Western diplomats were given this one chillingly specific piece of advice. Never get into an elevator with a Polish blonde. Now that wasn't just paranoia. It was a warning that came from some very hard-earned experience, as one American diplomat was about to find out.
Erwin Skarbek. He was an administrative officer at the U.S. Embassy in Warsaw, and he fell for a Polish woman who, surprise, surprise, was being controlled by Polish intelligence. Now here's the twist. They didn't threaten his career. Oh no. They threatened her. So to protect her, Skarbek started handing over classified NATO documents to his handlers. But, not all honey traps were about slowly bleeding secrets out of someone. Sometimes they were brutally efficient, designed for just one thing, extraction. And few cases are as stark as the story of Mordecai Vanunu.
So, Vanunu worked at a top-secret Israeli nuclear facility. He was horrified by what he saw there, and he decided he had to become a whistleblower. He actually smuggled a camera into the plant, took photos, and then fled the country, totally determined to expose Israel's nuclear weapons program to the world.
So now he's on the run, he's totally isolated, and he meets this woman in London who calls herself Cindy. She's charming, he falls for her pretty fast. And when she suggests a romantic trip to Rome, he's all in, thinking he's finally found someone who gets him. But the second they walked into her apartment in Rome, that whole romantic fantasy just shattered. Mossad agents burst in, they injected Vanunu with a sedative, and knocked him out cold. The woman he thought he was falling for, she had just led him straight into a trap. His romantic getaway ended right there. Vanunu was stuffed inside a shipping crate, hustled onto a waiting ship, and smuggled back to Israel to face charges of treason and espionage.
He was sentenced to 18 years in prison, and he spent 11 of those years in solitary confinement. A pretty brutal end to an operation that all started with a seductive promise.
Now you might be thinking, okay, this is all ancient history, a relic of a bygone era, but the honey trap hasn't gone anywhere. It's just evolved. So welcome to the new Cold War, one that's fought on a digital battlefield.
The targets themselves have changed. I mean, back in the Cold War, spies were going after government officials and military guys. Today, they're targeting engineers in Silicon Valley, scientists working on AI, and the venture capitalists who are funding the next big thing. The prize isn't just state secrets anymore. It's intellectual property worth billions. And the tools they're using now are just terrifyingly sophisticated.
Agents use social media to do their homework on you. They build trust over encrypted apps. They can even use AI to create completely fake people, complete with deepfake videos and cloned voices, which makes the whole deception almost impossible to spot.
But here's the thing. While the technology is brand new, the strategy underneath it all is exactly the same. It is still all about exploiting basic human emotions, loneliness, ego, desire, to manipulate a target. The playbook hasn't changed, just the weapons.
Which brings us to a final, pretty unsettling thought. In an age where so much of our lives are lived online, where we're forming real emotional connections through screens, the whole battlefield has shifted. So you really have to ask yourself, is the most dangerous spy in the world no longer hiding in the shadows, but maybe, just maybe, waiting for you in your DMs?